Hi everyone, welcome to Kate's Take episode 5. We're coming off Epiphany Sunday and the end of our Christmas season and this year. A year like no other in our lifetime. I'm sure many of you are glad to see this year end, and many are ready to forget it and really just move on. I wish we could put the pandemic behind us, but in fact we enter the new year in lockdown here in Ontario and with cases rising across our country. When I look back on 2020, I have a mix of emotions and feelings. I feel sadness and a sense of mourning for what I lost: people, my job, personal connection with others, physical touch, the world as I knew it. I feel a sense of pride that I've survived the most challenging year in my life so far, and I'm still smiling. And I'm still working to do good, and I'm still in good physical and mental health. So, a lot to be proud of there. And if this is a year where I've had some epiphanies, there have certainly been many. I've learned a lot about the world, about myself, and about life. For one, I am resilient. Some of my worst fears came true this year, and I've survived. In some cases, I even thrived. I've also learned that I really like my own company and being in my own home. For a very social and outgoing person, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I like being in my home, surrounded by my things that comfort me. And I know moving to my new home in March really had a lot to do with that, because it's very light and bright and just spacious. And I love it. But I've also learned that I really like my own company and can be by myself and be quite content. I also don't need nearly as much as I thought to be happy. I need several F words: fresh air, family, friends, food, and my faith. And the other thing I think I really realized was that there's a lot of people that care about me. And that care has come in some unexpected places. I've formed many new bonds with people who I never thought I'd become so close with, and who I wonder now what I did without before. In the sermon on Sunday, Reverend Mark talked about who are those three wise men in our lives and asked if we could name them. Wow. I could probably think of 10 people who I could turn to for guidance, support, and advice in different ways. But I will highlight 3 for you today. Number 1 would be my dad. My dad's kind of my go-to for all my big decisions in life, has been forever. He's really easy to talk to. He doesn't make decisions for me, but he listens, provides his thoughts and advice, and then supports whatever decision I make in the end, even if it wasn't the one he would have gone with. He's also showed me in so many ways what it means to be a kind, caring person, a good friend, a good neighbor, a good relative, and just he's really shown me that my whole life. The next person I'd say would be my best friend. We have a really strong friendship, and we can be completely honest with one another. And that means providing each other with that tough love sometimes too, as well as just good, honest advice, a shoulder to cry on, and just somebody to go to with anything and everything. We share openly, we love each other unconditionally. We celebrate one another's successes like they're our own. And I'm also really blessed because this friend of mine has 2 kids who I get to be a big part of their lives, and I love that. And I think the third person I'll just highlight today is one of my wise people, is my counselor. And yeah, I see a counselor pretty regularly. I have for several years. I love the way she provides me with an objective view, and also someone who's just on my side. She helps me solve problems, she helps me work through challenges, gives me practical advice and exercises to do to get through things so I can cope in the future without her, and really just allows me to feel better, and feel okay about things and acknowledge that not everything's going to be perfect all the time. There are many other special wise men in my life who give me love and support, but I would keep you all here all day if I could talk about all of them. So I'm just really fortunate to be surrounded by a community of wonderful people. So we'll just leave it at that. We didn't have a Kate's Take over the Christmas week, so I wanted to shift our focus back to a couple weeks when we had our final Advent Sunday and celebrated the Christ candle and reunion, or kind of that coming together. As we entered lockdown in the month of January, which is always kind of a cold and dark month, it really gives us that opportunity to dwell on our sorrows rather than kind of embracing life. So we have to be more deliberate about our choices and plan on keeping ourselves connected, motivated, happy, and looking ahead. Let's acknowledge that there will be good and bad days. We need to allow ourselves to experience both, and sometimes just sit in those feelings of downness, being in despair, I guess, a little bit, so we can move past them. We are going through an experience that is incredibly challenging and difficult. And it's okay to have moments, days, even a few days, where you let yourself kind of grieve for what we've lost or what we're missing. We're human beings, we're not robots. But share that grief with someone. Talk to them, write your feelings down, get it out of you, and that's the main thing, so you can really move forward. And I will offer up a little challenge to each of you as we live in this world apart but look forward to a positive coming together. I'd say number 1, connect with at least one person every day. This could be by phone, email, video chat, the church service, whatever works for you. Make a personal one-on-one connection each day. And it doesn't have to be with the same person every day. That would get a little bit boring. But maybe it's a group of people you rotate through each week. It doesn't have to be completely different every time. We'd run out of people probably. But if you do need someone to add to your list, know that I'm always here. And just think that by doing this, how strong those relationships are going to be when we do get to see each other again in person. Number 2 on my challenge list is to keep a pandemic journal. This can be as simple as a few sentences every day, or maybe it's pages upon pages a couple times a week. But that reflection of what we're living through, this is a period that will go down in history. And you may want to have a recount of it and the impactful events that took place. I think back of talking to my grandma about future things that happened in her past, sharing letters from the war and different things that she went through and learning about them from her. So being able to talk through it and then share those with future generations is a pretty cool gift and another way of bringing people together. The third thing I'll suggest that you do is to do an act of self-care every day, if possible, but every week at the very least. For some, this might be lounging in a long bath with a good book. Maybe it's binge watching a Netflix series or trading foot rubs with your partner. Or maybe it's just buying something you've really wanted but never really needed. Sometimes it makes you feel good and it's a little bit indulgent too. When we return to seeing others, we want to be mentally and physically strong and healthy. And that starts with taking care of ourselves. So those are the 3 rituals I'm going to encourage you to practice. But I'm going to add a few more for some extra credit. Give back where you can. This could be in time, in buying or shopping local, in monetary ways. Maybe it's just buying someone's coffee in the Tim Hortons line. You'll feel good and someone else will reap the benefits too. Create a list of your pandemic perks. I started this a while back when we were in the summertime, and now it includes several new and improved friendships that have come from the pandemic. Many of our Oxford County trail adventures are in it. The larger role I've been able to play in the church services, events like the food drive, all of these things that are, really have been perks of this whole experience for me. And doesn't mean it's making it a great experience, but it's really lifted my spirits and helps me get through it. And then finally, learn something new. Maybe it's the chance to finally figure out how to download or order your books from the library website. Or maybe you'll finally take up that new hobby like knitting or woodworking that you just didn't have time to dive into before and learn. Or maybe you'll finally nail that curry recipe that's been stumping you for years. Learning to do something new feels great and is often put off because we just don't have time. Well, time is one thing a lot of us have in abundance right now. We often hear Reverend Mark say that we are not alone, that God's love is within us each and every day. And it's true. The Christ candle and the end of Advent really reminds us that if we open ourselves to God and His love, we will never be alone. It's not always easy to conceptually grasp this, so I like to make it a little more literal. I think about where the light and love of God sits in me physically. I kind of usually picture it's in my torso here, in my tummy, sitting there. I imagine that love is a core part of my body, where it can spread up and down me and fill me up. It might be a silly way to think of it, but it works for me. And why I don't picture it in my heart, I'm not sure, but the beauty of it is there's really no right or wrong way. How I choose to experience and relate to my faith is up to me. So as I look ahead at a future of reunions with people, places, and activities, I'm eager with anticipation, and I'm working hard to remain patient and hopeful. In the meantime, I'll share one final story and idea with you. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of time with my grandma and Papa Lockhart. Regular weekend sleepovers and summers were spent at the cottage with them. My Papa was my main man, and I soon earned the nickname Little Grandpa. In the mornings, he would make his famous porridge with moments of delight to start the day. Those moments of delight were the addition of raisins, and we still refer to them as such today. It's such a silly thing, but it always made porridge so much more fun and delicious and special. So as your final challenge today, find your moments of delight in every day. It doesn't have to be something big, just something that brings you joy or pleasure. As we wrap up our Christmas season and this series of Kate's Take, I wish all of you a happy new year filled with renewed sense of hope, joy, love, and peace, and the chance to realize new and magical parts of your life. Mwah.